Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. For a long time, I've been saying that rent control is a very bad idea. It doesn't do anyone any good. It forces landlords out of the sector and it makes life hard for tenants. And lo, it has come to pass because Patrick Harvie's much vaunted rent controls that he pushed and pushed and pushed, that forced in through COVID, that maintained afterwards for quite some time, and the results are now in. Let's go across and see what they are. Oh, look, I was right. Because it just appears that the rent controls that Harvie so belovingly pushes has led to the fastest growing rents in Scotland. And this is according to not me, but the Scottish Government's own statistics. He spearheaded this big push for rent controls, and because of it, rents in Scotland have gone whoop, because that's what happens. Rent control always increases rents artificially high. It fails every time. They tried it in Ireland, it failed. They've discarded it and said, okay, that failed. And then a few years later, they said, well, we'll try again, but this time it will work. And it failed again. Rent control always fails. And idiots like Harvie don't realise that because they're very low IQ. But of course, he has got a property that he rents. He doesn't own a property. And so for him, rent control is the future because it means he will be able to keep his property. He's desperate for the rules to be that you don't lose your property even if you can't pay your rent, because he knows in 18 months' time he's out on his arse and no one will be paying his rent. He won't get a job. He's unemployable, uneducated, hateful, a figure of mockery. Who's going to employ him? And yet that rent will need to be paid. So next thing you know, he'll be out on the street. Dearie me, what a shame. I shan't laugh much. But the government has been urged to axe this latest crazy policy on rent control and give more rights back to landlords. Encourage landlords to go into the sector, not keep pushing them out. And that way there'll be adequate properties for rent. And when you have lots of properties, the rents drop. You see, this is the basic rules of the laws of supply and demand. But you keep heaving all the rights and freedoms onto the tenant and keep punishing the landlord. The landlords pull out, properties become rare, and the prices go up. That's exactly what's happening. But apparently, and I've got the numbers here, it said that the freeze introduced in 2022 actually increased rental prices in Scotland. Spearheaded by Patrick Harvie, it meant that landlords couldn't evict misbehaving tenants or charge them extra, even if they weren't paying the rent. And the policy was relaxed earlier this year, 1st of March, I believe it was. And as soon as they did, boom, rents went through the roof. The legislation included a national system that will allow local authorities to ask for a limit on rent increases in areas where the cost is deemed too high. Who deems it too high? You go with what the market value is. You're going to rent in, say, Bradford. It's going to be a lot cheaper than Paddington, Ahead of this debate, the Scottish Government published Private Sector Rent Statistics Scotland 2010 to 2024. And this, of course, is the smoking gun that shows how rent control completely screws rents. It found that the housing situation worsened thanks to the rent freeze. Before 2022, average rents for a one-bedroom flat increased by 31% over 12 years, which is in line with the annual inflation of around 2.6% a year. However, in the 2 years since the controls were implemented, rents for the same property type have surged 22.4%. That is astonishing. The data showed that for two and 3 bedroom properties, the rise was 32% or just short of 33% for 12 years, and then 34% over the following 2 years. So it went up more in 2 years than it had in the previous 12. And that is just absolutely amazing. But it goes to show and proves in black and white from the government's own statistics, rent controls fail tenants, rent controls drive landlords out of the market, rent controls are damaging for the housing sector in general, And they were only brought in by a tiny-minded, hate-filled, horrible little dwarf of a man who knows he's going to be homeless soon. Thanks very much. Bye.